Morning guys, and welcome to my channel. One of my subscribers asked me to do a review on my two different brewing systems that I have. So I'm going to try not to ramble on too much and keep the video short. Let's get started. So I've got the HOPCAT 50 litre, this was the Mark II version, and I've got the Brew Monk. I don't actually know what version it was, this is something I won. Let's just start with the controllers. So in fact the HOPCAT came with a controller that was almost exactly identical to this, 4 buttons each side. I have changed it to the Smart Ped, but I'm going to review it as though it's still got this. Okay. Firstly, yes, there's a volume difference in these two kettles. So if you were looking to brew double batches of beer, unless you're going to brew short and liquor back in this, it's just harder to make the calculations and get them right. This is your go-to option, or another 50 litre brewing system like these sort of cast iron Guten type systems. Okay, so let's start with the container itself. This is brushed and this is polished. I don't really mind either way. They both show up the bits and pieces of dirt pretty much the same, so the capacity is the difference here. On the side, so the taps are pretty much exactly the same as well. They're not, because they aren't overly thick construction, the taps feel a little bit loose in there. But then we move up to the sight glass, and this is a graduated sight glass that you can see here, whereas the HOPCAT doesn't have that. So you actually don't know, apart from your strike water, you don't really know what your exact volumes are in there, so you really have to trust your calculations. The first time I used this, I actually really appreciated having that. Because basically you can't see in here when you're doing your sparge unless you lift up the pipe to look in, so whichever system. So this, you can sparge and you can see when you're getting close, you can stop the sparge and let it drain through to get your pre-boil volume. So yes, very handy, although this top piece here, I don't know how it's fit on, but it feels really loose. It hasn't been a problem, it might be fine, but it feels almost as though it's just pushed onto a rubber seal. That's the same connectors and everything like that. On these, the malt pipes, you can see the malt pipe here, it's flush and it's just got this little hook, whereas on the other one you can even see how much harder it is to clean, and you've got to try and clean up in there and you can see it's not clean. So obviously before I brew I would clean that properly with like a toothbrush or a pipe cleaner to get inside there, but I don't really use this anymore. I'm not doing double batches at the moment, so I just use this as an HLT at the moment. There is a power discrepancy between the two. This is 3000 and that's 2400 watts. But also the plates, let's see if I can get this down for you. This is the plate from the Brew Monk, and you can see it's got these extra indents here, which I think really strengthen it and keep it holding as straight as it can, whereas the HOPCAT one has, so you see here it starts straight, it's got an indent and then it's just flat, so it immediately loses its shape. Not necessarily too much, but you do get grains in through the side, and the same thing happens with the bottom plate. There's also, if you look at the difference on the edging, this has been curled down on the edge, and I think that's probably the bit that gives it the most strength. So in short, if you brew normal 5-gallon batches of beer, I would go with the Brew Monk. If you're going to brew double batches, I would try and find one of these systems that has easy to clean malt pipe and that has a graduated sight glass. Those are the two main differences that I can find between the systems. They're both very easy to use. They all use the same sort of logic. It's just small things like this, and slightly more. They paid a little bit more attention to detail to like really strengthen the bits that could be points of failure. So, yeah, I would say then get a Brew Monk.